Awesome. And we are live.
We are live. We're live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to TTSN, the Transformational Squirrel Network, where we make shift happen. We're really excited today because we have with us Ayala Nunez. And I was introduced to him back in, I think it must have been June, when I did a podcast interview for Hillis Pew. And so we got to connect at that point briefly and have kind of been in touch a little bit ever since. And we are so excited to hear all about what Ayala has to tell us today. And so the first thing that I want you to do is just give us a little bit of background about yourself.
Wow. Where do I start? Well, I guess, long story short, I'm a registered nurse by trade. Okay. And to make it even more exciting, I'm a psychiatry nurse.
That's exciting, no doubt.
Right. My
You must
worldview.
love the full moon.
Right. But you know what? It's not so much the full moon. It's like the harvest moon. I've broken it down to science. It's the harvest moon in particular.
Wow.
And for me, especially since I work at the night shift for the most part, it gets crazy. So it comes from it really invites a very 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 long night on the harvest moon, so not so much every full moon. I'm a psychiatry nurse by trade. I am a veteran, and I was actually based in Crete, Greece, my first base, and then Travis Air Force Base, California. And after that, I decided to hop into psychiatry, and then that's where I found myself in the world of psychiatry nursing. And so my worldview of how I perceive the world comes from a psychiatry nursing background. And along with that, I just got so enthralled with broadcasting from many of my inspirations, such as Art Bell, Anthony Bourdain. Of course, that they're no longer with us. I think it was like a few years ago when we lost them to tragedy. But those guys were essentially my inspirations, and that's when I started to broadcast. And when I heard about the whole thing about podcasting and the ability to broadcast on your own from your own home, I was just so fascinated about that. But I didn't have all the tools that we have today. I started back in 2014, where
Wow.
it wasn't a common thing amongst people to podcast. So I had to learn on my own. I had to kind of like research it and YouTube it and Google it. And then it was actually a blessing in disguise, because I started to realize that if I can be able to do that and to actually learn how to do it from scratch without any formal training, I could pretty much do anything. And so I started out with my own podcast, Quantum Mindfulness Radio. And then just like how any author gets this inspiration to write a book, there was this thought in my head, and it said, hey, guess what? Now you know how to broadcast a podcast, your own show. You're going to start hosting and producing other people's shows too. I was like, no, I'm not. you know? and I resisted for a while, and it was just this urging thought in my head. You know what? You can do this. You can do this. And then I gave in, and I was like, you know what? Whoever is like implanting this thought in my head to do this, I have no clue how to even do it. So I'm going to give in, and I'm going to agree to it. I'm going to consent and say, okay, let's do this, but I'm going to need some help. So as soon as I gave in and consented, it's like all these opportunities started coming in, and how to learn how to do this step by step. I started meeting people, and then being exposed to many different avenues and how to start this thing. And here we are, Real Revolution Radio XO, where I've produced in the past 5 years, I say about maybe 40 some odd broadcasts, and it just keeps on percolating, stacking up, and it's just been an actual joy to be a part of them putting themselves out there and bringing out their message. you included. And so it's such an
Yes,
honor to work with you.
we are
Yeah,
so incredibly
awesome.
blessed that you approached us to see if you could support us, and we just feel incredibly blessed. Like, and getting our message out to more people and having your support has been amazing. So
Incredible.
thank you for
Well,
that.
Yes. Thank you, Joel.
oh, absolutely. And just to because just to put it out there before I forget, just to see you guys broadcast out there with such utmost sincerity and authenticity, the both of you, amidst a world that is full of chaos, fear, and uncertainty. And it's like, I personally am a firm believer of energy, and it's like, if you continue to feed a flame that you do not want to manifest into existence, that's one thing. And we do that every day subconsciously, you know.
Right.
But if we were to hone that ability to feed the fire that we want to manifest, oh my goodness, what if we gather together and start to create the world that we want, instead of focusing on all this drama, the politics,
Right.
the fear mongering. And
Right.
so now, with everything that's happening, in our day, and then just to see you guys just talking about the good things, and as if it hasn't phased you, that's a beautiful thing to actually experience every week when I produce your shows. And I pay tribute to you guys for doing that, regardless of everything that's happening. You guys are like the calm amidst the storm. So I'm telling
Thank
you.
you. It
Which
doesn't
is,
always feel that way.
yeah, for sure. I mean, of course, we're all dealing with our own stuff,
Of
right?
course. Of course.
Yeah, but it's definitely part of what needs to happen. I believe, we all need to work individually so that we can work together, right? We need to do the work on ourselves.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, and so
Right.
that kind of brings me to the power of voice.
Right.
That's something that you said you'd like to talk about, and I'm just excited to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah. Well, the power of voice is very important because, especially for me, I can only go off of my own experiences, because back in the day when I was younger, I didn't have that power to verbalize. I was very, very shy. And if you were to make comparisons between today and the very beginnings of I just just growing up, you would think like that's the same guy, and again, I mean, I did not even want to broadcast, to tell you the truth. Again, that was another thought in my head that, hey, this is what you're going to do now. I'm like, again, no, I'm not. uh, I had a problem with stuttering. I had a problem with being comfortable with my voice, and I had so much of a problem of having a continuous thought pattern to broadcast what I needed to say. And so for me to just be here, with you guys, being a very special guest for your show and to speak my voice, that's powerful, and then to see, you guys doing the same thing. And then I, in the background, just helping you guys to produce your show and to make it look as beautiful as possible. I love that, and so being a part of that journey for you guys, it really means a lot to me. It's like, again, mastering your craft, and doing
Yeah.
what you love to do. And just to see you guys, despite the fact that you do have your own trade on the side, as an income base, but doing this for yourself, and helping others to essentially deal and become resilient with everyday today problems. That's a wonderful thing, because I'm a firm believer that in order to help yourself, you got to help others, and then it comes back right to you, full circle.
Right.
Absolutely.
I remember the first time that I did a video. I recorded it on my phone, and it was something I was doing to put on Facebook. And I remember it was like a 3-minute video, and I did it, and I was shaking the whole time, and I stopped it, and I watched it, and laughed my ass off, and then I cried, and then I laughed some more, and I watched it probably about 10 times over and over again. And each time it was like a new emotion. I was so, like it was so out of my comfort zone. It was such a huge step for me, right? And it was the power of my voice. And it was to see how I actually act. We never talk, we never do those kind of things in front of a mirror. We just, we are who we are when we're around somebody. And then when to actually watch yourself was just so, oh my God, like it still makes me feel all jittery inside just thinking of that day oh my goodness, it was powerful. Powerful is the
Yes,
word, definitely. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just stepping out of your comfort zone, right?
Right. Out of your
Yeah.
comfort zone. And that's the only way
Yeah.
that you could really evolve. If you're constantly in your place of comfort, you cannot evolve to the next steps. And that's kind of like taking steps, the ladder to where you need to be. If
Right.
you're comfortable with just one particular place, you're going to be there for eternity, unless you go out of that place of comfort. I believe that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah. If you want change to happen, you have to make that happen. And sometimes that's what it is. It's about people stay in that comfort zone because they don't know how to move forward from it, because they fear what they're going into or what's on the other side. And I remember, even being in a state of depression or anxiety and being in that state, and you know, it was more comfortable than the fear of going out there and trying something
Right.
different. So I stayed in
Yeah.
that space because it was the comfort that I knew, right? Was the anxiety or the depression. But as
Right.
soon as I allowed myself to be uncomfortable and move forward away from the depression and anxiety and into that change, it was like, oh my goodness, why didn't I realize this or move forward with this a lot sooner, right? But it
Right.
was the uncomfortable space that I was putting myself into. Oddly, hey?
Right.
Yeah. I work with veterans and uh, veterans who are deeply enthralled in the alcohol and drug abuse, and I've often asked them, and at first when they start to realize or actually are confronted with that question, like, what are you talking about? But when they think about it, like, you're right, so I would ask them, where's your place of comfort, and they're talking about, oh yeah, I like to be in this island with all these people, wonderful people, with all of these different type of food and drink, and just having a vacation. I'm like, that's not your place of comfort. They're like, what are you talking about? Your place of comfort is loneliness, depression, separation, divorce,
Yeah.
alcoholism. That's your place of comfort. And then and this is a funny thing too, because like when they start to meet the wonderful person of their dreams, they start to accumulate money, they start to have a job, they start to not be addicted to drugs or alcohol. It's like immediately they start uh like miss where they came from a place of comfort, and so they will like absolutely, like on purpose, uh destroy what they have, you
Right.
know and and that's so sad, because and then at that particular point they're in a place of loss, they've been kicked out, they're divorced, and they're back in drugs and alcohol, and they're back in the place of comfort,
Right.
Right.
The
and
place
it's
Yeah.
they
kind of like a
know.
reversal
Yeah.
of psychology, right?
Mhm.
So
And
once
I
you can,
think,
yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead, Joe.
yeah. So it's like once you can be able to kind of decode that part of you, you can start to kind of like really take the steps to get out of that funk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
it's crazy. It's like a reverse psychology on yourself.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Truly it
crazy.
is.
And until you become aware that it's even, remotely happening, there's no chance of breaking free of it, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, yeah, awareness is key, and people
Yeah.
don't even understand what awareness or consciousness is. It's just the fact of acknowledging that something is there,
Mhm.
Right.
because like I took this hypnotherapy class over the summer amidst the whole COVID social distancing, and so I started to realize that, like, really, it was a very low percentage to where we were aware of anything was actually happening. Like when you're driving back home, like, are you aware that you're actually like driving? Like, it's
Yeah.
kind of scary to think that we're not even paying attention to the road. We're talking about, or we're thinking about what happened at the job, or
Yeah.
the stress of the home environment that we're about to go to, and we're not thinking about being careful and attentive to the road.
Or
So
you don't
Yeah.
even realize you went through the valley that was 10 miles behind you, right?
right.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So it's amazing how we haven't tapped into the subconsciousness, right? And if we're able to be more aware in that subconscious space, we can also be aware of I guess, if you want to call it being mind controlled by mind control marketing that's out there,
Oh,
either
for sure.
through products, through social media, whatever's on the TV. We're so easily baited
Yeah.
through emotion to buy or not buy. So you start to realize, like, are we in control of our lives, right?
Right.
Mhm.
For the most
Yeah.
part, it makes you think.
Right.
you know
It really
Eh,
does.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think we've been programmed, right? I mean, for generations already, right? Through our
right.
media and advertising, and so it's been something that takes evolution in order to bring some awareness, and for myself, I've found, you do work on yourself, and you think you're doing such a great thing, and you're so aware, and only to find out you really weren't at all in
Right.
the end, right? Like that.
Yeah.
Holy shit, there's a lot to this.
There is.
Wow.
And you know,
It's
even
amazing.
today I found myself like I I do try really hard to be aware throughout the day. I try to make sure that I'm aware of what's going on and what's being said and how I'm reacting. And today, something happened. Somebody had said something, and something occurred, and I was frustrated and upset. And then, like, within 30 seconds, it was like, really? Are you're reacting this way? Like, why are you reacting this way? What's this telling you about what you need to work on in your life right now? Right?
Yes. Right.
It's like, oh,
Exactly.
that was a reaction that didn't need to come.
Yeah. The body knows.
That's
Absolutely,
true.
right?
That's
Yeah.
true. Right.
Yeah.
It's
That's your guide.
Oh,
it
absolutely.
really is. It's your gauge.
Yeah.
Like pain. There's a reason why you experience pain. It's
Yes.
to reposition yourself, or to readjust the way that you treat your body, or even how you think of your body. And
Hmm.
Right.
so, like, even what was it, like, even the fact of the met and I found this pretty amazing too, where at one point I was craving a lot of salty products,
Oh,
saltine
yeah.
crackers, potato chips, French fries, McDonald's, and then not even making the connection. I had to go to the doctor, right? And I had my labs done, and the doc was like, "Yeah, you're fairly healthy. It's just your sodium levels are down." I was like, "Oh, really? I've been craving crackers and saltines and potato chips." It's like, yeah, yeah. That's weird how that happens. Your body tells you exactly what you
Hmm.
need, and you have
This
to
is so
listen.
true.
You know. So I found that, like, pretty fascinating, and that's at the basic level. Like, imagine the more complex, and how uh, you know, if you're able to determine, engage how your body is actually requesting things from you, you're able to determine what your body needs, or your soul
Mhm.
needs, or even what your
Right.
spirit needs.
Yes.
So listen, right?
Mhm.
Right.
Mm,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, paying attention, that it's that awareness. It's a knowing. And I even in class, like I'll teach my students, if you feel something in your gut, if you're talking to somebody or you're listening to something and you feel something in your gut that doesn't feel comfortable, it's an uncomfortable feeling. It's telling you something, it's giving you a message. So pay attention to that because you want to know that you your body gives you those signs. It gives you those signs and you need to listen to those signs because if you don't, it can lead you in a way that you don't want to go or
Correct.
that is going to give you other signs that might not be a good thing for you. So, you know, that's something that I think that we need to really ingrain not only in ourselves as adults, but in kids, right? Let
Definitely.
them
Right. Exactly.
know that they
Yeah.
have their body tells them things. Let them know that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what? Yeah, a lot of our traditional educational system, yeah,
Mm.
it's lacking. And so you know,
Definitely.
we just don't teach, even at the young age of maybe 10, 8, 7, just to teach children about the importance of finance, managing your money, valuing money, even credit. I wish my parents or someone would have told me about credit. you know
Mhm.
Yeah.
and I wouldn't have had problems back in the day, growing up, and that those life skills that they don't teach you, for the most part in the traditional educational system,
Yeah.
and I feel that needs to change. And yeah, one of our affiliates, our connections to Ireland, G Capo, he's a rapper over there. And I mentioned to you from the last time that
Yes.
we
Yeah.
talked but didn't record,
Yes.
Yep.
how he wanted to change that educational system down there,
Mm.
starting with our children.
Yes.
And uh, that's what needs to be done, like in America too, and Canada, and all the countries, and what a better world it would be if we were more conscious to do that, and starting with our children,
Mm.
would be
But
amazing.
don't you think that's the direction we're headed? Like with, I truly believe with what's happening in our world is, we're giving ourselves more time and more awareness to see that these are the things that need to happen, and I just find it so powerful. I was listening to a podcast today, and they were talking about how it's time for our kids to for us to stop trying to control them, for us to stop squishing them and putting them in this box because they no longer fit. And
Right.
the kids are coming out aware. They're
Yeah.
way more aware than we are, and they can teach us a lot. And so I just find it so powerful that that we can sit back and allow them to speak their truth, and to that we can just say, what, I don't need to control this little being, because it came into this world knowing everything, and anything that I try and teach them, I'm just you know changing what they came out as. I mean, they're perfect already. So I honestly think that we're headed in that direction. I sure as heck hope so. That's my vision anyway.
I think so. Yeah, yeah. What do you think, Tamala? I mean, you work in the educational system with many children, so
Yeah,
yeah,
I feel it's definitely broken. I don't think that everybody needs to learn the same thing. I don't. I mean, of course, in where I am, I will teach what the curriculum is, of course. But I do believe that there's a better way. I believe that there's a more freeing kind of way of educating people, and that not everybody needs to learn the same things like pigeonholed, and we don't need bells to tell us when we need to eat and when we need to
right,
sit and
exactly.
stand and go to the bathroom. And you know
Right.
I hope in my lifetime that I see that, because I feel like there's a shift that's happening, and maybe there'll be more choice and more opportunity, for our kids in the near future. I'm hoping that I see that.
Mm.
I think it's more closer. Is that even that's a I can't say more
It's
closer, right?
closer. Yeah.
It's closer, right? Just leave the more out. I can be quite wordy.
All good.
I think it's around the corner. That's another way to reword it, you know.
Yeah.
So it's closer than you know.
Yeah. I'm hoping so. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember when I was younger, the difficulty that I had with not only with speech and stuttering, but like also comprehension. And so back then, there was nobody that kind of diagnosed me for what my ailments were as far as learning, because I did have a learning disability. I didn't figure it out until it was already too late, until like college when I got back from military service, and I just couldn't hold any information in. So I would drill information into. I mean, I would just do all nighters, just trying to drill this information, and I would get A's. But like the amount of work that took was just amazing. It was just I couldn't get any sleep before a test, and so I went to a psychiatrist, and I was diagnosed with ADD.
Mm.
And the one thing that I did notice was that when I did take the ASVAB, which is the entry exam for the military, I didn't know that was an IQ test, and I scored very high. You know, I was like, wow. So why am I barely, getting out of high school with a
Yeah.
2.1 GPA? And it was just the fact that I couldn't hold any information. I couldn't comprehend it. I wasn't like an idiot, but I just couldn't be able to process the information. And so, um, but imagine the kids now today where we do kind of know what's happening, but then to realize that there's options, but then some of those options aren't very favorable in a healthy manner, especially with big pharma, with the medications they're having for kids, Ritalin, and you know,
Terrible.
some of these stimulants. It's not good for children overall. And but we have to be able to see other alternatives besides just medication. There's other ways to, because every child is different for the most part. You know, I was
Yes.
different for sure, and so I started to realize like there's many things about me that wasn't the same as the other children. And outside looking in, fast forward to today, the same holds true. Like every child is different. They must be approached in a different light, in a different way.
Yeah.
As to, I don't have the answers, but there's got to be something where we have to uh, uh, recalibrate, rehuddle, and see what we could do about that, starting at the childhood level.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. I mean, are we meant to sit in desks for 6 hours a day? Are we meant to do things paper and pencil all day? Is that what we're meant to do as children? I don't think so.
no,
Actually, it was different the last couple of years. I've been doing things that were really out of the ordinary in my classroom, doing some teaching, just different style of teaching, and they weren't always sitting at their desks. But there are classrooms that don't have desks. They've got different things, whether it's balls for kids to sit on and tables and such. But going now with COVID, you have to be 6 feet apart, right? And so you have to be 6 feet apart. You can't be, you have to have a mask on if you're talking to somebody. And so that has thrown another little monkey wrench into how you share information with kids and how you're teaching them. But regardless, I really hope that this changes very quickly. Like it's got to change. Something's got to happen. And yeah, I'm just looking at a comment here on our thread that says, let children problem solve their way,
Yeah.
right? Because a lot of people think, okay, well, they have to do it this way. No, there are many ways to solve a problem. Let them do it the way that they do it, you know?
exactly,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, there's many ways to problem solve, and for them to kind of be able to figure it out on their own, or even do it organically. We can learn from that.
Yeah.
It's amazing how if you could just and that's the thing about today. I think instead of becoming reactive, towards many stimuli that comes our way. Again, not everything needs a reaction. You could just observe and just be the calm and watch and then learn. Silence is a big therapeutic thing with nurses. If you're just, you don't have to like recommend or suggest anything for anybody who's talking to you as a nurse. And the same holds true with just anybody else. You could just be silent. You could just listen. The power of listening,
Right.
in combination with voice, the opposite, just, shutting up and just listen. Can you listen to me? Like, man, just like, dude, just listen to your woman, and just observe what they want, and then you'll figure it out that this is, and you won't get any mess, from anything in the future. So just listen, listen.
I like that.
I've learned myself,
All you
you
men
don't
out
have to
there,
talk.
listen. The same goes
It's
for
so
women, though. Right.
absolutely.
It's a two-way street, right? That communication of being open to listen to what the other person is needing, and sometimes that's all that it is. They just
Right.
need you to hear what they're saying.
It's big. Yeah, it
Yes.
really is. Because I mean,
And
in a world,
it's
so much distraction, you just you feel like you just want acknowledgement. Just listen
Mhm.
to me, and that's it, and then you're good.
Yeah,
You know. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. And I know for myself, when I first became aware of, maybe not listening as much as I should have been, um, how many times a person wants to interrupt a conversation, or, to feel the need to be heard, right? To interrupt, to get in on the conversation, or and maybe not even listening to what the other person is saying, because you just have to say what you got to say, right?
Right.
Having the awareness to sit back and just allow whatever's going to unfold to unfold. And in many cases, people, that's all they need, is to just be heard, right? They don't need your advice. They don't need anything from you. They just need you to be there with them and hold their hand, or just listen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And you know what? Like, that reminds me of I don't know the name, but this fella. This happened years ago, where his business is thriving because guess what he does? Okay. When I used to live in downtown Cleveland, the biggest thing around there was walking your dog, right? So I remember this one guy. He used to like provide his services walking other people's dog in the apartment complex downtown. And I'm like, oh wow, that's cool, So and people pay pretty good money for that.
Mhm.
So then a few weeks later, which was kind of like synchronicity, I started to find out through my coworkers, and when they would tell me, in California, this one fella, he started a business of walking people.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
Right?
fantastic.
Yes.
Isn't it?
There's so many people out
Wow.
there that are single, or they just don't have a family, or many other circumstances that which lend to the fact that they don't have a lot of social anything, right? So they provided the business of walking people, where you just basically walk with them and you provide conversation, wholehearted
Wow.
conversation.
Oh,
And
That's
oh my
beautiful.
goodness, I mean, I think we need to have more of those. you know?
that is
Yeah.
fantastic. I could
Yeah,
Yeah.
do that. I would love that.
yeah,
Yeah.
That is wonderful.
yes.
Yeah.
So I
It
mean,
kind of reminds me of the hugging services
I
that
was
people,
just
you
thinking
see
that.
that online sometimes, right? Free hugs, you
right,
know.
right,
How beautiful is that, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
And everybody, yeah,
Amazing.
especially now, right? Social
Yes.
distancing. You got the mask. Everybody's like, oh,
Yeah.
COVID.
Mm.
you know,
Yeah,
even
really.
if you sneeze, oh, COVID.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is society doing to us, guys?
Yeah.
There is no need for us to be fear of another human being,
No,
No,
no.
there isn't.
right?
No.
So
Period.
I know I want to keep it clean here, but like that I'll just add this: there's got to be something more to it,
Mm.
Yeah.
to tell you the truth.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
it has to end there. I mean, there we've lasted this long, right? And we live with viruses, right?
Right.
It's not
Yes.
so much actually, as we speak, there are thousands of germs around us,
Hmm. Yeah.
right?
We need them, actually.
We need them, right? So what do you call that? Flora, fauna, right?
Yeah,
Is that what they call it? Flora, fauna.
Uh,
I think so.
So yeah, it's the germs that you need to protect yourself from other germs, right?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that said, it's not so much the germs, which is a natural thing that we've lived with through many, many ancient, years altogether,
Mhm.
um, millennia upon a millennia. This is how we got here so far. So essentially, it's the immunity,
Hmm.
that's being
Yes.
compromised, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Hmm.
So, like, as much as possible, increase your immunity, whatever it takes. And it's not just a nutritional intake, it's your spiritual intake, it's
Yes.
your exposure to sunlight, vitamin D, you
Yeah,
know, uh,
nature.
nature, hug a tree,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
And connection with people,
Yes.
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
That's
Yes.
big. That's really big.
Yeah.
And for some people more so than others, right? Because if you're a really social person and all of a sudden you're told you can't be anymore, that's detrimental to your spirit. That's detrimental to your
Oh, yeah.
health, to your well-being,
Absolutely.
right? But you're
Mm.
right. Like we all have germs and bacteria and there has to be a balance of them in your body, right? And as soon as you're sanitizing and killing all of the bacteria, you're playing with that balance and it's no longer a balance. And so,
Yep.
yeah.
The
So there's
balance.
there's a
Absolutely.
lot going on that's yeah, behind the scenes somewhere.
But it's
And
like, where do you start?
yeah,
Right. I mean,
yeah.
Well,
unfortunately, go ahead, Cindy.
sorry, Joe.
Yep.
I really think that um, with what's happening individually, we get to see the fears that are coming up for us, right? So with all of this, the masks and the frustration and I know for myself, walking out the door and oh my God, or getting to the store and oh, I forgot my mask and having to put it on or to, you know, all of this, what it brings up in me and what I need to work through myself
Hmm.
in order to move forward. And so each of us individually doing that is so, so important collectively, right? For all of us. And so it is frustrating. It is, I mean, there's a lot going on around us and we can jump into those rabbit holes, but we got to remember we got to come back out too,
Right.
breathe and work on ourselves. And,
Yeah.
because there's a lot out there, there's a lot happening. You can turn on the TV and get lost. You can jump in your phone and be lost for hours, right? But when it really comes down to it, we all need to work on us, and that's what this is for. This is really meant for each of us to sit with what's coming up for us and to work through these fears, because there's a lot of fear, right? There's a lot of fear out there. Nobody knows what to do.
Right.
Nobody's ever experienced a pandemic before, so we're all just really lost and confused and scared and alone.
Hmm.
And so just really working on that, and yes, reaching out to people, and yes, having that connection, and yes, having these kind of conversations,
Hmm.
right? So, so important.
And breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth,
Right.
right?
Your breath, your
Yes.
body.
The breath.
Come
Oh,
back to grounding, come back to
right.
every time you start to feel that, every time you start to see yourself go away, bring yourself back and ground and feel your body, feel your butt on your chair, feel just touch,
Right.
feel you, ground
Exactly.
yourself so
Yeah.
that you're back in the now, right?
Yeah, it's weird. A few years back, I had a friend who was intuitive, and he just pulled me to the side, like, "Hey, you know, in the next few years to come, I don't know when, 10, 20, I just feel that, I'm not, something told me just to tell you, that, just when that time comes, and you'll know, you know, go back to you." I was like, "What? Go back to you? What do you mean? Like, go back to self?" Okay, and then he said, "Yeah, just to center, and you'll know that time, you know." And so that memory came to me just a few days ago, and I'm like, I think that time is now, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's correct. You have These are the times to center, to reflect on self,
Yeah.
and it's not selfish to focus just on you, because again, if you're able to focus on you, make you happy, make you so reassured and feeling blessed. I mean, just the feeling of loving yourself once more, you could now you're ready to love other people,
Yeah.
and you're able to like be the very best version of who you were meant to be for other people. And then now
Yeah.
you could be the blessing. You could, after your recharge, this is the time of recharge. This is,
Yes.
I don't know if you've been knowing about it. Like, they're talking about global reset. It's the internal self reset that's really happening. It's
Mhm.
almost alchemic in nature. You can't have that global reset unless you have that internal reset first,
Exactly.
and then things start to manifest and create for itself the world that we want to create.
Mhm.
That's what we need to do right
Right.
now, you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And holding the vision of what you do want to see happen, right? Instead of focusing on, the fear and the mongering and the hatred and the division and stepping back from that and giving yourself the space to say, okay, I don't like what's happening out there.
Yeah.
And I do know what I do want it to look like. Okay, I don't want it to look like that. But guess what? I can create what I want it to look like, right?
Right.
And coming back to what is it I want, because we are creators. We really are. And as we awaken, we see that much more of it, right? We see, holy shit, I totally created that. And in a lot of senses, we totally create things that we didn't want, because
All of it.
that subconscious program that we're running, and we're, holy, look at that. Look at
Mhm.
what I have been running here. And okay, I can change it now that I see it, right? And now I can create something different.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
do. We create it all. We are creating all the good, all the bad, all the ugly.
Yeah.
We create it
Yeah.
all for ourselves. And I know so many people would beg to differ that, but I truly believe that everything in our lives we have brought there
Mhm.
in one fashion or another. It's there because of
Right.
our thoughts, our the energy that we're putting out there,
Yeah.
right?
Our vibration.
Our
Yeah.
vibration.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because to tell you the truth, like, in this reality and whatever way that we frame it, the things that really mean the most are essentially the things that we can't even see, you know.
Mhm.
Um, and one of those things is love. You you
Yeah.
you, you can't really, can we prove love even exists? Like, can we quantify love? But I
Exactly.
guess what? I mean, the love that both you guys have together as sisters, you guys know it exists,
Mhm.
and it's the strongest, like, knowing that, right? I,
Yeah.
I can see that every week that I produce your show. It's just that connect, that bond, but can you put it in a cup? Can you like measure how many inches it is? you know
Nope.
can't, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and science cannot dictate whether you have love or not. The same thing holds true. Your faith in your own religion, your spirituality in God. Some people already determine and assume what level that is for you. They can't do that. Only you know. You
Right.
know. Yeah, self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, man,
Yeah.
I love this conversation. Can we do
Yeah.
this like every week?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel
it's
so good,
interesting.
Yeah, it
The
does.
last time we spoke, like we were speaking for probably about 45 minutes before we said,
Long,
"Oh, we should hit the record button."
right?
Yeah.
And then we talked for another 45 minutes. So we should have hit the record button when we said we should have hit the record
Yeah,
Isn't that
exactly.
crazy?
And then we didn't.
We
No, we
didn't,
didn't.
but we've learned, right? We've learned. I know Cindy, like said, I thought we talked about this, Joel. You know,
Yeah. What?
but I know, Cindy. I got distracted. I felt like a child. I was like, I know, mom. You know, I remember this.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Speaking of which, we wanted to touch on it takes a community to raise consciousness. I'd like you to speak to that, Joel.
Wow. Okay. It goes again. It's in parallel. Actually, that came from another quotation. As far as who actually was the author of that quote, I don't know. But it goes back to children. It takes a community to raise our children, right?
Nice.
I took it to another perspective and stated, well, it takes a community to raise consciousness, you know, and it does. It really does, you know. I just moved into the city west of Cleveland after, you know, the whole Cleveland thing. And, you know, when I moved in, I started to see like, one household to another, and I was like, wow, do I live in Mayberry? You know, and they were just inviting me to their home, offering, something that they've made for on the regular, but they knew that I was a new kid on the block, and so
nice.
they were, acting together as a community. I was like, wow, when was the last time that I ever even experienced that? I think it was like, the Andy Griffith show. Matter of fact, in Mayberry. I'm like, but I never experienced that for myself. But to experience that firsthand, I'm like, you know what? That does exist today, And that's the thing about it. It's like many of the things that we thought were extinct or non-existent, we can make it manifest, you know, on the click of the fingers. And just like that, that is the true value of what we have as people, as human beings. We are manifestors, and that's just one person. What if a whole community got together to manifest things together? What happened to prayer together? What happened to the fireside chats, talking about stories and just being like a family? We need to be a family again, a community family, bringing that back together, telling stories about, everything from growing up to experiences to what we experience from divorce, from separation, from loss, and also to go on the other end, the opposite of that, to abundance, to prosperity, to wealth and success. I mean, we need to speak those things of positivity. I know people talking about positivity. Yeah, it's another a kind of false way of making things happen, but to incorporate positive thought with higher vibration and frequency and love, to integrate that all together into the mix, I think we need to incorporate that, telling each other, when we look in the mirror, I love you, you're wonderful, you're worth it, just those words of inspiration every day. And we need to be conscious to remember to do that every day, because we need that, especially from ourselves,
Right.
So,
Yeah. And that's the sticky notes around the mirror, right?
right.
Sticky notes.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Amazing.
that's where it can start,
Starts,
Fantastic.
right.
Yeah.
So important.
It is. It's so
Really.
important that you acknowledge the love that you have for yourself, because if how is it RuPaul says, if you can't love yourself, you sure as hell ain't going to love nobody else.
Yeah, that's true.
Something along that line anyway.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's sure a lot easier to love other people when you can love yourself. So that's so important.
absolutely.
But The fireside chats, I love that. I love that thought, being able to just be a community and be authentic and be sharing anything and everything that comes up and working through that together. It's fantastic,
It
and
is. It
and I
is.
And
think that that's what our goal kind of is with TTSN, is to let people listen to those chats and let people bring that in for themselves and hear and process and hopefully gain a little bit from us for themselves,
Absolutely.
yeah.
From
and
week to
I
week
think,
to week, you know.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think with our COVID, just seeing there is more of that kind of stuff going on. There in the smaller groups, of course, right? But um, and there was lots of people making skating rinks out because they didn't want their kids to be wearing masks, and so they're making skating rinks out, and then the communities are able to join in and play and be together, right? And so I think that's something that is actually happening in the background. If we stay away from the mainstream media and the fear and the mongering, and we look out our back door and watch what's happening,
The
Right.
that is
tobogganing.
happening.
Yeah.
It really is happening. And maybe the words of "I love you" to the neighbor isn't happening quite yet, but why can't that happen in the
Right.
future, kind of thing too, right? That we can create.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's like, uncomfortable too, kind of like, going across the street and knocking on the door and like, hey, love you, bro,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not
That's
quite
Yeah.
there.
uncomfortable, but
Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking about love, I know one other thing that we wanted to touch on was doing what you love, right?
right. Yeah. That's wow. That takes a lot of courage. There's one good friend of mine who did exactly just that. And I'm not going to put her name out there. I'll put her on Front Street, but she's been an inspiration for me because she essentially left a very good paying job, right? And so, but she had this desire to move to Sedona, Arizona, and so she essentially left her job, and just just made that decision, and of course you get opposition from that, from the biggest thing, friends and family, like, oh no, you're stupid, da, 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 and then they put that in your brain, and then for people who chose that route to listen, and I'm not saying don't listen, it's just it's kind of like a gray area, a thin line where you do make the decision or not. So she decided to follow her heart,
Mm.
and so she dropped her job. She was single at the time, and then she moved, straight to Arizona, and it was rough in the beginning because she lived out of her car for a while, and then she's doing much better, and she is actually thriving right now. But she had to get out of her comfort zone, and now, after long story short, today, in comparison to how it was in the beginning, she is now in a place where she's at, where she wants to be, and now she's doing what she loves. She's teaching yoga. She's a massage therapist, and she's doing that, and like she's loving what she does every day. And I love that quotation: "If you love what you're doing every day, you'll never work a day in your life."
Isn't that
And
Yeah.
true?
she is not working at all every day. She's loving what she does, living, thriving in abundance. So, and so that's what I'm kind of like doing right now, as far as, just producing other people's shows. I know I do have a couple shows out there, and, I'm doing my thing, interviewing other people, bringing on board many different concepts, ideas, controversial theories out there. But to tell you the truth, I have more fun producing shows on the back end,
Mm.
and there's a trend. I hope, and I'm praying like maybe that it'll end in the future, in the near future. Like, and I get it. Put your content out there as much as possible, because you never know, and just start stacking and start creating an archive for yourself. But like there's a lost art form of producing shows from beginning to end with a nice little intro. It doesn't have to be extravagant. And then, just it's kind of like being a podcast DJ in a way, where you're essentially combining music with visuals, and then of course your broadcasters when they do their thing, and that in itself, like to me, is like my craft, and it's from the last 5-6 years that I've been doing this. Video podcasting has actually been something new for me. So I had to really get out of my comfort zone. I've resisted for 5 years, and then one of my broadcasters, who was new to me at the time last year, at the same time when Tamala was being interviewed with Hillis's show, she confronted me. Was like, yeah, I want to work with you, but you have to do video, And I'm like, okay. And when do you want to start recording? Like tomorrow. I'm like, "Oh, okay." So in 24 hours, I had to like really find what platform I needed that was required to actually do what I needed to do for the next day. And so I made it happen. I just did what I had to do, and she loved it. And before you know it, we were broadcasting for a good 30 episodes, and that was the very beginning of my love for video production. And guess what? It blew up to where I later started to get more out of my comfort zone, because then I started to have a request to produce other different video platforms, such as a video for G Capo with Ireland and his music video,
Nice.
Dark to Light, I believe. And
That's
so
exciting.
I did that in like 6 hours. It was only like a 3-minute music video, but it took like a whole 6 hours. But I started to go in there, and then I started to do more commercials, and then the intros that I started to really hone in on. I started to do one after the other, along with yours.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, check that out.
Love it.
you know. And then I followed your guidance too. I'm like, yeah, yes, okay, absolutely. I'll do that. And
Yeah.
then it was like something that I was like, okay, I could learn to really love this. And so uh mastering your craft is all part of the love, uh and identifying like who you are as a person. Sometimes we're not in the traditional job that we're in from the very get-go that we want to be in, but when we start to know thyself, start to explore what we want in life, and then not only to be just general and what we want, but to be very concise and specific to what we want. That is the thing about the universe, guys. Uh, it wants you to be very specific, because if you want general, the universe will give you just general. So you have to be specific of what you want, the person that you want, the life that you want, anything that you want. Just be very precise, and the universe will provide. It's crazy how that works.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Fabulous. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And you're doing a few more music videos now, aren't you?
Right, with Mama Christie, with her song that she's had out for a while, but every time she goes out there to shop around for a producer, it's like, wow, it's going to cost this much. I'm like, I'll do it for free, and, it's just like, no, I got to give you some money, whatever. I'm like, whatever you want, but I'm willing to do it for you, because I want some practice time. So
Yeah.
I learned how to do a music video for rap. I want to do it for rock and roll now, and I want to see.
Nice.
And it's a different way of doing it. Like for
No
rap,
doubt.
you almost have to do it by per beat. It's like every time you have a beat, the scene shifts, whatever, and so
Yes. Mhm.
you have to be a little bit more concise with the beat itself. But rock and roll is more of the transitioning, the subtle transitioning
Right.
from one particular scene to the next, as far as relates to the song. So that's my other project. And then I was confronted with doing a documentary for a guy that is doing an ultra, 100-mile ultra. And so he wants me to
Oh,
do
Wow.
a 40-minute documentary from start to end. And actually, he's going to be one of our newest broadcasters too.
Oh, exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah. So just see how that turns out, and for you guys to experience that, I think that's going to be a wonderful series. Just very inspiring,
Yeah.
And just imagine the finish, right? After 100 miles, and then you're
Wow.
crossing the finish. Wow. I mean,
Yes.
talk about
Yeah.
the emotion.
That
No
would
doubt.
be, yeah.
I would love for him to be on your show. That'd be
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
That would be really neat. Yeah,
Yeah, because he's
absolutely.
already completed a 50 miler ultra. So
Wow.
he wants to do this before the age of 60. So, I mean, this is a huge
Wow.
accomplishment. Right.
Fantastic.
Wow.
That's
Right.
awesome.
Crazy.
Incredible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we've come to the time in our show where,
I'm not leaving. No, no.
okay,
I'm
okay,
going to
well, we
stay.
can stay all night. Stay all night. That would be great. I'm going to give you some squirrel shots right now, though.
Oh man. Okay. All
And
right.
so
I've seen you do that with the other guests. I'm like, oh, I hope they don't do that with me.
there are 10 of them, and just quick, it's rapid fire. It's just answer whatever comes to your mind.
Okay.
So if you were a crayon, what color would you be?
Yellow.
Oh, okay. What's the strangest thing you've ever eaten?
Oh, crocodile tail.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. We got to talk
Slimy.
about that. Last thought before going to bed.
Whether I'm going to get 8 hours of sleep or at least 2.
Oh, or at least 2. Where do you go to think?
Mm. Well, this is funny. It's the shower, and that's
Oh,
where we haven't talked about this, but that's where I kind of like remote view kind of thing.
okay.
Yeah, it's weird. So in the shower.
We'll get into that too. Okay, what's your favorite flower?
Oh, sunflower. Obvious.
Oh,
Mm.
nice. And pet peeve?
Pet peeve. Always press record.
Oh, that's always press record. Like coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee. Last thing you liked on social media?
Last thing I liked. Actually, it was a music video, Def Leppard, Hysteria.
Nice. Best
Awesome.
feature? Your best feature.
My voice.
Ah. And what are you most proud of? Other than your puppies? Puppy.
Oh, yeah, I have to.
So cute.
They're asleep right now. My biggest accomplishment, right? That's the question.
Mhm.
I'd have to say it was the 26-mile marathon back in 2012. Yeah,
Wow.
we have to talk about
Wow.
that behind the scenes
Yeah.
because there's a lot of miracles that happened that day. It was weird.
That
Yeah.
is fantastic. We could probably go on for another hour.
I know.
Yeah. No kidding. For sure.
Yeah. And somebody is saying, heck yeah, that voice. So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Thank
That
you.
is awesome.
Thank you.
And
Absolutely.
And I have a question for you.
Ooh, what you got? What you got, Susie?
Well, I got if you could stand on the top of a mountain and the whole world could hear you, what's your message?
My message is to love each other. Yeah, because you never know.
Nice.
You never know when your last minute or breath will be, and when you do go, people always remember that last interaction. And if it's with love, then that's what how and what they will remember you by. So always love each other, regardless. Your enemy, your friend, your wife, your husband, always love each other at the end of the day.
Oh, love that. It's fantastic. Now, there are lots of places that people can see your work and see you. Can you tell us some of those places, and we'll make sure that those get into the comments as well so that people can look into the comments and see.
Absolutely. If you would like to, the main portal for our network at Real Revolution Radio XO, X stands for Awakening, O for for on demand, is at awakeningondemand.com. So that's www.awakeningondemand.com. And we do have a blog too as well. So if you guys are writers and you would like to put your stuff out there, your written work, our blog actually went viral the last 3 months in 2020. So we used to have a few hundred every month. I think in the last 3 months it went up to like 60,000, hits. I don't know what I was writing about, but it went viral. That might be the real virus, to tell you the truth. But you can find that blog at bloglikeaquantummechanic.com. And yeah, so and your show too is also broadcasted on that main website at awakeningondemand.com.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome.
And you're connected with other places as well where your work is shown.
Oh, absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
So my work, your work as well, is with Binge Networks TV with Bonnie Buterer. She's the creator of this fabulous smart TV network and smart TV world. That's Binge Networks TV. We also platform on regular social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and another network. Our sister network is with Spiritually Raw TV, and they have a new platform that they just started I say about a few weeks ago, and that's the Collective Super Channel. And so a lot of wonderful broadcasters there. They used to be on YouTube because of censorship. They have started up with YouTube. I think it's called YouTube.
Huge. Yeah.
YouTube,
UGE.
right?
Yeah.
And so they are the number one broadcasting platform on YouTube. So now with the thing about censorship and other platforms being utilized to be number one on that platform, it's huge. And so uh,
Huge.
it's
It's
huge,
huge.
It's huge.
literally. So yeah, and I think there's other plans in the works for other platforms too that we're going to connect and network with. So very exciting times for 21. A lot of
Yeah.
wonderful things happening.
Awesome.
And
We're
to
so
Oh,
excited to be connected with you.
yes, oh, I remember
yeah.
when I saw you guys. For the first time, it's like Hillis. Yeah, could you please reach out to them and let's make it happen. It's like, oh, okay, right. I kept on bothering him. It's like, I did it,
Oh, well, we feel incredibly blessed. So you need to know
Absolutely.
that. Yes. So
Absolutely. I feel
Thank you
blessed.
so much for sharing with us, Joel,
yeah.
sharing yourself and everything. It's just been such an awesome conversation.
Oh, I feel like we've been friends for a while. I
Yeah.
Yeah,
mean,
no kidding.
Cindy, Tamala, I'm telling you, it's just, it's all here, and
Mhm.
I'm telling you, you guys have my heart. Whatever you need, I will provide as far as, what I could do to make your show one of the best out there. If you guys do what you do and you make it to other platforms and you thrive, I'm like, damn, I had a part to do that. You know, I mean, sky's the limit with everything. And so I just bless you. I pray for you every day that your broadcast goes beyond what you expect. And because you really have a great platform. You really do. It's from the heart. It's authentic. I cannot say it enough. You're just very sincere people. And we need that today, We need to see that amidst these times of uncertainty, fear mongering, and we need to have more of that natural organic part of ourselves to be portrayed out there regardless of what's happening politically throughout the world. So thank you for what you do, Cindy and Tamala. Absolutely.
Thank you. And
Thank
thank you
you.
again for joining us. And
Mhm.
so now we're going to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And we look forward to seeing everybody again next week. So signing off from TTSN. Take care, everybody.
Night.
Have a good week.